Alright, what up? Alright, this is going to be part 2 of the before and after using the ultralife red slime remover. This is the after video. Here's the product I used right here to remove cyanobacteria that I had plaguing my 120. If you want to check out the first video, it's in my list of videos so you can see how bad it was. I tried everything to get rid of it for over a month, water changes, and it just kept coming back worse and worse. So I had to resort to using some chemicals, and for the most part I'm pretty happy with it. It's probably about 90% gone now. What I did was I did what they recommended. I turned off, actually they don't recommend that you turn off the skimmer, but I did anyway because it was freaking out when I put the stuff in. But I put the product in, and it turned the tank this nasty yellow color, and it said to aerate because this stuff eats up all the oxygen in the tank. So I removed my filter sock and let all the air bubbles circulate through the tank, and it kept my water nice and aerated. So let's take a look at the tank. Now after that, I did a 25-gallon water change to remove a lot of the product, but I'll get into that in a second. I just want to show the after. This is about a week later. It says, I've heard testimonials of it being completely gone in 48 hours. It wasn't that fast for me. It was probably about 4 days to really get all the way gone. But I mean, this is the area that you saw how bad it was in the other video, and as you can see, it's almost completely gone. I mean, it's off of these rocks here. That's just some green algae there. If you look all over these rocks, it's yeah, I can't even find any. There's only little tiny patches in some areas that I can see that might even be green algae. I'm kind of colorblind, so it's hard for me to tell, but for the most part, it's not on my sand. It was plaguing these zoanthids here. This whole rock was full of it. I mean, this stuff was everywhere. It was on the glass, and this product did its job. It did really good. I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with it. Now to get this stuff out of the system, that was a different story. It's not that easy to get this crap out. Like I said, I did a 25-gallon water change. Probably about 3 days later, and the water was still yellow. So another day later, what I did was actually before that, I'm sorry. My plan was, after this stuff did its job and I did a water change, since cyanobacteria uses phosphates as its food, I wanted to run a phosphate sponge, and you only run that for 24 to 48 hours, so I left it in for about 36 hours to soak up any remaining phosphates that were in my tank, so any of this lingering cyanobacteria would starve out. Kind of hit it with from all sides here, take its food away and hit it with the chemicals, and I think it worked pretty good. So I took that phosphate sponge out, and yesterday, which was about 4 days after I started the treatment, I decided to turn my skimmer back on, and my skimmer was freaking the hell out. I had it completely open. I mean, like I said, this stuff is really hard to get out of your system, so I had my skimmer completely open, and it was just, I mean, within seconds this whole cup would fill up. So I knew that wasn't gonna work. So what I did was, and I this might be something I might incorporate into my maintenance routines every so often, was I did a wet skim water change. What I did was I mixed up 5 gallons of salt and had it ready, and I had another 5-gallon bucket here, sitting here next to my skimmer, and I have a nozzle here that I can hook up a hose, and I ran the hose into the bucket, and I wet skimmed 5 gallons out of the tank, and it took about an hour to do the whole thing. I kind of just sat here on my computer, and every 10 minutes I would just siphon some of the new fresh salt water back into the sump, into this area, and let this keep going till it was completely filled up my 5-gallon bucket, and I completely drained out my other 5-gallon bucket. And I waited another day and did this again until it was not producing any more wet skim, and it was a really efficient way of getting anything that's in the tank out. And on top of that, I mean, the stuff that was coming out was tea colored and nasty colored, so I think it's a really good way of, you know, it could be a new, I mean, not new, I'm sure other people did it, but new for me, a new system of doing like a 5-gallon concentrated water change of junk. You know, I could pull out 5 gallons of gunk out of here within an hour and just put some more salt water back in so the salinity won't change. And it worked out real good for me. So I think it's something I might incorporate into my my maintenance. Every now and then I'll do one of those 5-gallon wet skim water changes. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. Something else, I switched back to I'm switching back to Chaetomorpha. You know, as much as I like Caulerpa, I'm kind of nervous about it going asexual on me and kind of poisoning my tank. So I still have it there in a bag, just in case this Chaeto dies on me, because I've ran Chaeto before and it ended up dying on me in a few weeks. I don't know how or why, but it did. This was when I first started my tank. So hopefully this batch of Chaeto will flourish and I could get rid of this Caulerpa that I got there in the bag. I guess lastly I could show, this is something I picked up a few weeks ago. You've probably seen it in the past few videos, but it's my I got a little frog spawn here. Oh man, that colors is really washing it out on here. Gotta go from this side. It's like a little too bright. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I picked up a nice little frog spawn. He's been doing pretty good in my tank for the past week. Actually, a week before I did this treatment for the red slime, he kind of retracted all his tentacles, and I don't know, he didn't look too good. But after this treatment, and I did these 2 5-gallon wet skim water changes, I mean, he's flourishing. He's all out right now, so he looks like he's pretty happy. So, you know, I go based on how my tank's doing, is how the inhabitants are doing. You know, everything else is doing good, and these lights are kind of washing everything out right now. My mushrooms here are nice and expanded. They look nice. You know, the clam's doing good. So overall, getting back to this product here, yeah, it works. What can I say? It works. I'm happy with it. Just getting it out is a little tough, but it's possible. So, you know, if you have red slime and nothing else is working for you, check it out. But also keep in mind that the cyanobacteria, you know, check your nitrates and your phosphates, because that's, you know, it uses phosphates to grow. So what I try to do, like I said, was hit it with the phosphate sponge, hit my tank with a phosphate sponge to get rid of some of the phosphates that were in the tank, to hit it naturally. I'm also changed my feeding. I used to feed brine shrimp, mysis shrimp, the frozen pellets every day, and mix it up with some water and then dump it in. And I think that might have been adding to the phosphates. So I'm changing over to pellets, and I'm gonna do that brine shrimp and mysis shrimp and all that stuff, like, you know, the frozen pellets, maybe once a week. I mean, I only have 2 fish in there right now. If you might, somebody asked me on the comments where those 3-5 fish were, and you know, they're known for jumping out of the tank, and within a few days I saw one of the guys trying to jump out. He kept jumping and, you know, swimming real fast up to the top, so I kind of saw it as a threat that he was going to jump out. So I took all 3 of them back to the store. I didn't want them dying on me, jumping out all over the place. So I'm still stuck with these. Not stuck with them, but these are my 2 boys here. You know, my two Sabay clownfish. Everybody else is doing good. You know, my goby, my scooter blenny. And this, I want to show real quick the phosphate sponge that I used. It comes in a media like granules. You need to put it in flow, so I put it in my filter sock. Like I said, this was after my water change and everything, so I put my filter sock back. I put it in my filter sock, let it sit there for 36 hours. You don't want to let it sit for more than 48 hours, or it could start leaking phosphates back in. And you know, after I took it out, everything's been looking great. So that's it. I'm gonna have another video coming out probably in the next day or two, or maybe even next week, because I'm actually heading out of state tomorrow night. You know, asking you guys' opinions on something. I have a question for you. So, you know, look out for that vid, and if you have comments that you can help me out, you know, I look forward to you know, any help that you can give me. Alright guys, later.